Do you wonder if you're the best version of yourself? This is the question we seek to answer in this podcast. We reveal information that helps you recover your health and become resilient. Modern life makes us fragile. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment set us up for failure. We do not accept this. We seek optimization. We strive to become dynamic. Hey, what's going on? Dr. Chris here. Today I'll be talking about gout. Gout is super painful. It tends to affect men more than women. So what is it? It's a type of inflammatory arthritis that typically attacks the big toe and ankle. It's when there's an accumulation of uric acid crystals in the joints. And by the way, it can attack other things too. It can even attack, there's like gouty bursitis. So this leads to inflammation, leads to intense pain. And uric acid is a normal waste product that forms when the body breaks down purines. That substance is found in basically all foods, and certain foods are more rich in it than others. It's called a disease of kings because it's associated with the lavish lifestyle of royalty eating nutrient-rich food and sugars and alcohols. So normally, uric acid dissolves in the blood, passes through kidneys into the urine. But if there's too much production of it and the kidneys can't keep up with it, you get a buildup, which is what really leads to it. It tends to attack the feet and toes because of both temperature and gravity. So the ends of our body, the peripheral parts of our body, just have less blood flow. The capillary beds there are smaller as opposed to more proximal towards the core. All those arteries are really big. So we tend to have much more heat towards our core and our brain. So our hands and our feet tend to be cooler. It's just, if anyone has experienced Raynaud's phenomenon, they would know what I'm talking about. Also, why not the hands? That's the gravity part. The circulation has a harder time coming back up to the heart from the feet than it does from the hands. So classically, you're told to avoid purine-rich food. And indeed, purine-rich food has been associated or correlated with gout attacks. And these foods tend to be red meat, turkey, organ meat, shellfish, things like that. There is purines in vegetables and fruits, just to a lesser degree. So the typical advice is avoid red meat, stick to fruits and veg, drink dark cherry juice, stay away from alcohol and sugar, which can help, but tends to be kind of a slow process. Now, if you've been listening for my podcast for a while, you know that correlation does not equal causation, and this is a classic example of that, because there's been a lot of discrepancy in the research. Some studies have found that ingesting high levels of purines are not enough to provoke a gout attack. Other studies have found that ingestion of purines increases the excretion of uric acid. Another common finding is that at times of gouty attacks, you see increased inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6. So what do we have going on here? This has been described in one paper as a bit of an innocent bystander effect, and it's kind of similar to the sugar and salt debate as it pertains to blood pressure. So salt does increase blood volume, but normally the kidneys can handle that and regulate the salt levels. But in the context of a high sugar diet with insulin resistance, the kidneys kind of stop having this regulating ability and they retain too much salt. So then blood pressure rises and then salt takes the blame when the real problem here is insulin resistance. So this is pretty much the same thing. This is the common denominator. It looks like insulin resistance may be playing a role in gout. You've heard me talk about insulin resistance a ton. You probably think, oh, Dr. Chris thinks insulin resistance causes everything. Well, it kind of does, right? Blood sugar regulation is one of the four main homeostatic regulators of the body. And it's the one that has sort of the most amount of wobble. Like pH is tightly regulated. O2, CO2 is tightly regulated. Temperature, you can kind of play with temperature a bit, but your body has mechanisms against all that. Blood sugar really comes down to diet and some other lifestyle decisions. So it's kind of the one that goes off the easiest. And then everything falls off the bus from there. So in the context of hyperinsulinemia, or high levels of insulin, the kidneys they have a decreased urinary excretion of the uric acid. So we get ingestion of lots of purines and then a backup going on because the kidneys can't handle it. And it looks like there's some other players at hand here, clues. So in times of a gouty flare-up, Fructose can be high, and that's the high fructose corn syrup, not fructose found in fruit. Increased fructose leads to serum uric acid levels buildup and also reduces uric acid excretion. Iron is another marker. Iron and ferritin tend to be high in states of gout, and that's not surprising given the correlation between increased iron and diabetes. So we know iron is oxidative, pro-oxidative, so inflammatory. And when you get a buildup, it can attack or rust basically certain organs like the pancreas. So there's a correlation between iron increase, pancreas, oxidation, and poor blood sugar regulation. And when people do blood donation and dump some of the iron, their insulin resistance improves. This, by the way, is probably the reason gout attacks men way more than women. Women tend to be anemic, men tend to have too much iron. Or it can happen to a woman after menopause. So if they've been anemic, been on iron supplementation most of their life because it made them feel way better, and no one really educates them on this, and then they stop menstruating, they stop losing that blood, then their iron levels will soar, and then they can go into iron overload, and then they can experience gout. Okay, so you got a gout attack, what do you do? So definitely lowering sugar will help. Alcohol reduction will help as well. Vitamin C appears to improve excretion of uric acid, and that's probably in part why they usually recommend dark cherry juice, because it's high in vitamin C. I mentioned blood donation. Obviously you have to talk to a provider about this, but blood donation will reduce iron and therefore sugars in the blood. And there was one study in 2003 by a gentleman named Ficini. He found that phlebotomy to a near iron deficient state affected gout, ranging from a complete remission to a marked reduction of incidence and severity of gouty attacks. So if you do get a gout attack, fix it. But then it's probably a really good idea to get a blood panel and find out sort of the reason why. Okay, it could be a warning sign that you're developing insulin resistance. Or there may just be too much inflammation going on in your body, or you could just have too much iron and ferritin levels. So that's it, kind of a short one. If you have questions about this, reach out to me. Thanks. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant to do. What does this mean? It means exposing yourself to difficult situations so you become resilient. If you need help building resilience, check out our flagship program called Physiologic Flexibility. This is a 3-month do-it-yourself program that teaches you how to maximize your homeostatic regulators, such as your pH, blood glucose, O2 and CO2 tolerance, and temperature. We give you specific action items through the program with the goal of becoming anti-fragile. If you want to become the inspiration for your friends and family, this is the program for you.